I want to get better isn't enough, right? A desire for change isn't enough. The key to lasting change is a shift in identity. But how do we do that? Right? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. So if you're in the business of helping people get healthy, this is something that you have to understand. Now, I want to start with a really simple example. Quitting smoking. Right? Think of the difference between these two statements. I'm trying to quit. I don't smoke. The person who says I'm trying to quit, right, still identifies as a smoker, just one that is trying to stop. Right? Where the person who says I don't smoke doesn't identify as a smoker. Right? And I can almost guarantee the person who says I'm trying to quit will not succeed, or at least they won't succeed for long. Their identity hasn't changed, and it is identity that drives behavior. Now, each of us have our own identity that both drives what we do, but it's also influenced by what we do. And this kind of bi-directional relationship really is the key to driving sustainable change. For someone to make purposeful and lasting change, there has to be an emotional driver to their decision. Right? Simply wanting to get better does not have an emotional foundation. Why does someone want to get better? Right? What are they running from? What are they running towards? I've many times had the experience of asking a client, like, why are you trying to get healthy? Why now? And the answer, because the doctor said so, right? I know for a fact that unless I can work to help them change their identity, we're going to see really limited results. So coming back to identity, right? Our identity literally shapes how we see the world. Thoughts, feelings, and actions are driven by identity, right? We all as people have a vision or a story of who we are, and we act in alignment with that story, right? What someone believes about themselves and about the world at large is literally baked into their identity, right? This is how we develop, this is what we absorb, right? And then what we tell ourselves about how the world works and how I engage in the world. Right? Now, if someone's behaviors fit with the story of who they are, those behaviors are in alignment with their identity. If they do not fit that story, they are out of alignment, right? And behaviors that are out of alignment are incredibly hard to sustain long term. You know, ask a self-described introvert to run a weekly social meetup and see how long that lasts, right? This behavior, running a social meetup, is out of alignment with their identity. I'm an introvert, right? Let's come back to the example of the smoker who is trying to quit, right? Not smoking isn't in alignment with their identity of being a smoker, right? And just as smoking is not in alignment with the person who doesn't smoke. So how do we help someone change their identity? That's the key question. The key here is to use a potential future self to drive current behavior change. Right, I want to say that again. Potential future self is what we can use to change our current behavior. Now, it's not as simple as just saying, I don't smoke, right? We can tell ourselves that we want to be a certain type of person, we want to act a certain way, but if that is not believed by our subconscious, it's, again, incredibly hard to maintain. Now, this is not an overnight thing, right? And nor does it simply happen because we want it to. We need to use two things. Right? We need to use emotional drivers and we need to use state shifters. Right? A negative current state can be an incredibly powerful driver of change. Someone that has hit rock bottom, right, or is simply fed up with how they feel, is now driven to make change. Right? We can use that as fuel. From the awareness of what they don't want, right, how I feel right now, I'm fed up with, they can easily start to identify what they do want. And we can start to use that, right, to visualize a potential self. And that is what we start to work towards, right? This is the new identity that someone is creating. The person they want to become feels different to the person that they are now, right? And this is the emotional driver. Now, what's also necessary is a reliable way to change state, right? Because guess what? The person they are now is going to perpetuate the current behaviors, which is really what got them to this point in the first place, right? So this is where breathwork comes in and can create this state shift that we're looking for, right? What breathwork does is it really allows someone to reliably change their state, right? And state just being like, how am I experiencing the world right now? Tired, excited, relaxed, fearful, right? Are all states. To change how someone feels, we can change their state, right? And when we can create a state that's in alignment with this potential future self, that's where we again start to make moves towards that potential future self, right? How does the person who is healthy feel? And how does the person without anxiety feel? This isn't a thought-based strategy, right? This is tying the emotional state of the future self to the present, right? It's as if we're kind of remembering a future state. This sounds a little bit tricky, but again, you've experienced what it feels like to feel health, to feel gratitude, to feel excitement. And we can use the breath as a lever to get ourselves into that state, and we tie that emotional state to the future self. So if you want to help someone change, right, whether it's to get healthy, to lose weight, to reverse disease, you have to help them change who they are, their identity. To change who they are, they have to change their beliefs, right? It's too hard. I don't have the time. I won't be able to, right? These are all beliefs. To change someone's beliefs, we have to help them change their story. And to change the story, we have to help them change their state, right? And so we see this kind of flow-on effect. If you can help someone create the potential future self and tie that to a specific emotional state, and then give them a reliable tool to access that emotional state, you will set them up for true, lasting change, right? Again, I just want to repeat that because it's so important. If you can help someone create this potential future self, who do you want to be? Who is the person that has lost weight? Who is the person that doesn't have this health condition, this disease, right? Who is the person that is healthy? Tie that to an emotional state. What does that feel like, right? How does that person without this disease feel? How does that person that's lost weight feel? And then give them a tool to access that feeling, that state, right? That tool is often breathing, right? That's the tool that I use and share with my clients and my students, right? Now, that in itself is the essence to helping someone shift their identity. And then we take steps towards that potential future self until that becomes our new identity. I know this sounds, in theory like a good idea, and it can be a little bit trickier than that because someone's identity, right, is baked and ingrained in them throughout their entire life. And to change identity can be uncomfortable, can be scary. It's often why people need support in doing it. But I found breathwork to be, an incredible catalyst for people to start feeling different and believing, right, changing the belief, changing the story, that they can get better. Because all of a sudden there's this kind of like flag in the sand, right? They've felt this feeling that this is what it feels like to not have this health condition. This is what it feels like to be healthy, to not be anxious, to be whatever it might be that is that goal. And then we just repeat that feeling, right? Breathwork is the most reliable way to change state. And so I can use breath every single day to shift myself into the state of that future self, right? And that really is the catalyst for identity change. And as this kind of comes to a close, identity change is the catalyst, right, for actually someone changing their behaviors, changing their actions, changing the story that they tell. And that's what really everyone needs to make those changes. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about how to use breathwork, perhaps with your clients or patients, or perhaps you'd like to learn a little bit more about how to use it for yourself, I'd encourage you to either drop a comment below or invite you to join our free community, where we really discuss, the role that breathwork plays, not just in helping someone shift their identity, but really as a foundation and a pillar of health. So I hope this helps you take a new perspective look at behavior change, identity change, and the key, right, to true lasting transformation.